So you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody or you're nobody.
A lot of this is behind the scenes or under the hood.
It's time to just look under the hood. No stone should be unturned.
I don't even know what that means. Look under the hood. I got an engine underneath my hood.
Most important thing in business is honesty, integrity, hard work, family. Never forgetting where we came from.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood.
Welcome to the Under the Hood podcast with Jonathan Hood.
Across 110th Street, pushers won't let the junkie go free. Across 110th Street, woman trying to catch a trick on the street. You bet. Across 110th Street, you can find it all in the street.
Welcome to the Under the Hood podcast with me, Jonathan Hood. So glad that you are with us. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a review if you're listening to us on Apple Music /iTunes. We really appreciate it. We've got a very special guest on today, but before that, we want you to know that if you've missed any episodes of the Under the Hood radio show we do on ESPN 1000 in Chicago or some of our previous conversations, make sure that you download the podcast and tell people about our podcast as well. It's, my radio show is based on grassroots. It's based on social media and people finding out through social media or the radio show. So if you're listening to our podcast, make sure that you share it with others. Let people know that this podcast is here for our general local Chicago talk, our national conversations, and also long form conversations that I have with our terrific guests. So our guest today is Skylar Diggins Smith. Skylar Diggins Smith is from the WNBA. She's a 4-time WNBA All-Star, 2-time All WNBA first team, and she is from South Bend, Indiana, and she's a WNBA All-Star. She played in the All-Star game that took place in Minneapolis a couple of days ago, and she plays for the Dallas Wings. Now, she first started off with the Tulsa team and now with the Dallas Wings, but Skylar Diggins is more than just a basketball player. Skylar Diggins is someone that really understands her brand. She's part of Roc Nation. Of course, she was a terrific college basketball player with Notre Dame. Being from South Bend and still has her South Bend roots, there's no question about that. That her team, the Dallas Wings, recently lost to the Chicago Sky. They're going to play the Chicago Sky coming up on the 31st of July as we record this. But she has a lot of things going for her. Being part of Roc Nation, was part of several television shows as well. And she really digs in and talks about the growth of the WNBA in the sport. So Skylar Diggins Smith, our guest on the Under the Hood podcast. Skylar, let's start here. I want to ask you your thoughts about All-Star Weekend. Great outing for you. Once again, 17-8-8. What stood out most about All-Star Weekend for you?
The fans were amazing. Minnesota was a great host city. They obviously draw really well, and that thing was filled to the top. Target Center was rocking. It was a lot of fans that came out, and obviously, getting to play with the best of the best. It was just a fun time all around.
Skylar, I saw you with those orange and black Pumas. Okay, is that the first time that you wore those this year?
As far as in front of people, I would say.
Okay. Did you have them in a box this whole time?
On the record.
Okay, so you had them on, but you didn't have them in front of the public. That was the first time at the All-Star game.
Well, the WNBA had just officially signed the agreement with Puma to become an official partner. So until that was taken care of, I had to go with the league sponsor. Are
you rolling with that color sometimes during games, or is that just a one-time thing?
No, I'm sure you'll see him again. You'll see him again this year.
All right. Well, what's it like for you, Skylar, to be the first female athlete to sign with Roc Nation? I want to go into that because for many years, athletes go with traditional brands, but you could just tell that Roc Nation is growing. What stands out most about that brand for you?
Yeah, for me, when I first started, I was the second one to sign. I think it's like 150, 180. I don't even know how many it is now. But it's a leap of faith. But when you're dealing with a businessman like Jay-Z, everything he touches turns to gold. And they have a great team and a great system that they established there. And I really feel like we work together. You know, they do a great job of, you know, opening, you know, they do a great job of exploring things that I like to do outside of basketball and, you know, really just put me in a great position to be successful in marketing and, you know, getting me, you know, the right interviews, making sure I'm in the right places. And, you know, I deal with Jenna Fleischman over there. I think she's one of the best businesswomen that we have in corporate America for sure, and definitely in the industry right now. And it's been great working with them. They're an awesome team. And, yeah, we got a good thing going.
I really think that's going to be something that is special for more and more athletes. Or there's some other athletes that you know that are on that part of that brand that you're friends with or that you know.
Not really. You know, I just consider us all family, though. I guess we're all under the same umbrella, so we may cross paths. But it's nobody that I, you know personally or, you know, anything like that. But, you know, everybody that you come across, everybody that you may see in the office or you may, you know, cross paths with, you know, you're all considered family once you sign to the Roc.
Yeah, the Dallas Wings will be taking on the Chicago Sky on the 31st. Good tickets are still available in Arlington for that one. As we talk to Skylar Diggins Smith with Jonathan Hood on ESPN 1000 and the ESPN app. Skylar, I think that the awareness of the WNBA is grown and grown more and more as we go through the league. How much has the sport grown for you from the time that you first came in the league with Tulsa?
I think the product is the best it's ever been. You know, I think really this is the year, if you look at the standings and playoffs, everybody's bunched up. You know, everybody's right there in the thick of things as far as making the playoffs or to cut off the playoffs or, you know, one game can jump you 2 spots up or down. And I think this is the most competitive it's been. And I always talk about our league being the most competitive league. And I always talk about the barrier of entry, you know, how hard it is to get into the WNBA as a player and to stay in the WNBA as a player. So I think the great thing is the product is best it's ever been. You know, we've grown a lot as far as attendance and viewership. And, you know, the numbers have been amazing this year. This has been one of the biggest years for the W. And I credit a lot of that to the level of play. You know, it's just, it keeps getting better and better. I still think we have a lot to go, you know, a lot to do, a lot of ground to cover, and we deserve more coverage and more people seeing us and seeing our game. And I think we still have a lot of work to do in that part.
Who would you say is the face of the league? I think that there are several that you can point at for sure, you being one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think even in the NBA, from that standpoint, it's not everyone knows who LeBron is, but I think that the league has grown so much that's not necessarily about one person. It's just about a number. Can you point out faces of the WNBA that makes the league grow?
Yeah, I mean, it's only 12 markets, so it's a lot of states that don't even have WNBA basketball to support. You know, since it's not shown as much as it should be on television or on mainstream media. So I think, you know, yeah, brand recognition is really important when you're talking about building a brand. But it's a lot of international, you know, players that go over and play international basketball and sort of become international superstars, if you will, and grow the fan base there all around the world. And, I mean, when you talk about, like, players like Diana Taurasi, who just, you know, who's made history in this league, who's been in this league for a very long time. Another player everybody recognizes from being in the league so long, and her success is Sue Bird. Elena Deladon, you know, is a great player. Maya Moore is a great player. I think Liz Cambage is one of those international superstars. You know, she hasn't been in the league. She missed about 5 years in the league, but she came back and is playing at an MVP level. And, you know, I'm happy that she's on my team. I will put myself in there. I mean, the list goes on and on as far as talent. Like I said, it's only 12 teams, and all the superstars or faces of the league, if you will, like you say, were on display this weekend. You know, pick anybody in there, and you know, people are going to know those women from their accomplishments and what they're doing, what they've done in the league, and what they continue to do at a very, very high level.
Skylar, who was the first NBA player that noticed your game, that came to you either on social media or came to you in person and said, "Man, I really like the way you play"? I
don't know. You know, I've had conversations. I would say the one that kind of made me go, "Oh, that's what's up," is Kobe Bryant. You know, obviously I'm with Body Armor, so I deal with Kobe from a business standpoint with Body Armor, and obviously being a part of his sportswear brand that I used to be a part of. You know, I would cross paths with him and have conversations, and obviously his love for the game. You know, the guys really understand basketball as basketball, so we never really have to explain or look for validation from them. You know, real hoopers know what it takes to get to this level and how much work you have to put in. And it's kind of dope seeing one of the greats in our league, you know, just be like, hey, you know, I see you, I see what you're doing. And, you know, he has daughters. You'll see him at the Staples Center coming to games and supporting. So, yeah, I mean, if you know basketball, you know, it's not anything that you don't disparage women that play it, right. You know. Right. You have a lot of respect for women that play the game. And, yeah, it's a lot of guys that show love and come to the games. And we have guys in our local Dallas market that come out to the games all the time and from different sports as well. So I think that's the thing about ball. It's the mecca of pop culture, you know, be it if you're in fashion or music or whatever the case may be, you know, basketball is just a part of the culture, and it attracts people that aren't necessarily sports fans but just entertainment fans.
I noticed at the Sky game when the Dallas Wings came to Chicago at Wintrust that there were young girls that were wearing your jersey, and so that has to mean something to you, that when you travel that that people recognize you, especially young women and young girls that you mentor and that really love to watch you play.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome being able to get to play all around the country. You know, all around the world at one point. And you know, I'm from the Midwest. I think I grew up in South Bend, like an hour and a half from Chicago. So every time I come to the Midwest, you know, Indiana, you know, it feels like home. And I always have over 20-plus family members in the crowd, friends, some of my closest family friends that come out and show support. So it's always awesome to see, you know, anybody that wants to come and show you love and support, and to see those fans, you know, young girls that are looking at you through a microscope, and, you know, they're a direct reflection of me. I used to come to the games and wear jerseys and, you know, cheer on Catch down the road at Indiana, and, you know, they're just a direct reflection of me. So it's something I definitely don't take for granted, and it's still kind of strange to see sometimes, you know. It's so awesome to be able to know you got an effect on the people around you, and, you know, like I said, the support is all love.
The Wings are playing the Sky at College Park Center. That's going to take place on the 31st as people hear this at 7 o'clock. The Wings fell short against the Sky in the last game. What stood out about that last game against Chicago?
I mean, they shot the lights out of the ball. I mean, you have to give them credit. You know, we were coming off a back-to-back versus a tough team in Washington, and had to travel to play them that same day. And it's just with the nature of the schedule this year, you know, it just is what it is. So I think definitely we had some time to get some rest and had a lot of practice to get ready for them, and likewise with them with us. But us being at home, you know, the home crowd, we haven't crossed paths with the home crowd in a few days since All-Star break. So I think everybody's going to be really excited about, you know, I mentioned earlier, you know, one game can make the difference in playoffs and where you stand. And I think this business mentality that we're approaching this last 9 games with, you know, it's like we're desperate for all of these wins. And I think that we'll play with a sense of urgency. But they're a great team. They got great players who are very capable. You know, Alec Quigley, we saw set a record for men and women at the three-point contest this past weekend with 29 points, which is amazing. She shot the lights out of the ball, and she's very capable of doing that on the floor, too. And obviously Courtney Vandersloot, you know, who is leading the league in assists. She's great at probing, great at finding her players, and it's definitely a team that we can't take lightly.
We all saw you on Wild 'N Out, on MTV's Wild 'N Out. What was that experience like for you to be on stage? Oh,
man, that was so long ago. It was pretty cool. You know, it's an improv show. Everybody's really funny, and yeah, I thought it was a great show. I had a great time.
Would you be going back because that's still going? I think they're going to be in Chicago for a show here pretty soon. Would you be coming back? Would you go head up with somebody one-on-one if they asked you?
Would I go head up with somebody one-on-one? What you mean?
On Wild 'N Out, you know how that show goes. On
the mic? Oh, on the mic?
Yes.
Oh man, I would definitely be down to go on that show again. I had a lot of fun. You know, they make it, they make it fun. You know, like I really appreciate. Yeah, I ain't scared of nobody. I'll be down. You know, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool show. I'll be down to go if they ask me to invite me again.
I think you were thinking about that for a second. Like, yeah, I can see myself.
No, I'm just I mean, I don't know what else to say. The show is just really fun. So of course I went past on that opportunity.
Okay. Well, I do broadcast for the UIC Flames, and your cousin Michael Diggins is on that, part of that team. He really did a great job defensively and was really growing into the system last year for UIC. I need something on Mike Diggins that I can mention in the broadcast. What can I talk about when I talk about Mike?
I couldn't tell you. I don't have no secrets.
Come on. How about his game? Something. I need something. I mean, one thing for sure is that he was getting it done defensively. He was a shot blocker, did a great job sealing off the baselines. What can I say about Mike on the show, on the broadcast?
I really don't have anything for you. Diggins, we hustle. That's basketball runs in our blood. Being from a lot of us from around the Midwest and Indiana ball and all of that. So I don't got nothing but positive things to say about my cuz. Keep up the hustle. I'm proud of you, and keep leading your team.
Yeah, I know he's listening for sure, and he's going to be a major factor on the Flames coming up as in sophomore year with UIC. Last thing, and I appreciate your time, I saw that you were part of the Equalizer 2 trailer, so I'm thinking that there's going to be acting in yours for you after your career is done, or maybe while you're playing. Do you see that for your future?
That definitely wouldn't be something I would shy away from. Like I said, I'm an entertainer. I'm not really afraid to speak in front of crowds, and things like that. But I would definitely want to take classes and make sure I was prepared for that. But it was a pretty dope experience, especially since, The Equalizer was directed by Antoine Fuqua, who's one of the best directors in the world. He did Training Day. He did Malcolm X. And then obviously Equalizer 1 and 2, and the list goes on and on as far as movies that he's done with Denzel, who's the best. He's a Mount Rushmore of actors. So it was fun. Definitely the experience was a lot of fun, getting to, try out my superhero, auditions and things like that. So we'll see. You never know. I'm definitely not against it, and we'll just have to see what comes up for me. We
appreciate you coming on the show and looking forward to the sequel of The Sky and the Wings at College Park Center. Again, that's going to be July 31st. And so that should be an interesting game for you guys. Continued success throughout the season. As always, we appreciate your time here in Chicago.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Great conversation with Skylar Diggins Smith of the Dallas Wings of the WNBA right here on the Under the Hood podcast. Great conversation with her. You could just tell she's filled with confidence, not only about her team, but about the WNBA and just her ability as a basketball player and as someone that really understands her brand. And her brand is continuing to grow, there's no question. And the thing about the WNBA is, from a television rating standpoint, from an awareness standpoint, things are increasing for that sport for sure. A lot more awareness, a lot more people tuning in, because to me, when it comes to basketball, when you go through the NBA and the regular season, the playoffs, you get to the NBA draft and NBA Twitter. Well, now it transfers into the WNBA, because if you like basketball, you're going to stop and watch. And it's not just women just going on through the floor with nobody watching. There's a lot of eyeballs, butts in seats, ticket from that standpoint, as well as the awareness from a TV standpoint. So the WNBA definitely is growing in a big way. So it was great to talk to Skylar Diggins Smith. All right, our producer for the Under the Hood podcast is Sean Davis. And don't forget to hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/tweetjhood, on the Facebook wall, facebook.com. And you know where to reach me. Continue to download, subscribe, and tell people about the Under the Hood podcast. And we'll talk to you next time on UTH.